Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is just past midnight on Tuesday, May the 6th, 2025, which makes this the news for Monday, May the 5th, day 1167 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. How do you do? I'm Peter Alexievich, and this is the Live at 5 from Kyiv, coming to you live from this major European capital currently under siege. Hey, Tommy, Anthony, Tommy, Tom. How you doing? Hey, Eli. Hey, Mike Kelly. Hey, Chef Deb. Hey, Troy. Hey, Bobby. How's everybody doing tonight? Hey, Michael Boucher. How's life in Phoenix? Hey, Roy Daniels, Marco, Bernard, Michael Kistner, Roy Daniels. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Hey, Mike Kelly. It is nice to see everybody. The peeps are coming in. Hey, Richard Prexis. Thanks, Chef Deb. How is everybody tonight? So, while people are coming in, I'll tell this story because I thought it was a good one. You know, I think the Russians are full of shit when it comes to firing nukes at the West. We know that they are paying tens of millions of dollars for a disinformation campaign to scare Westerners into believing they are about to be nuked, right? We know that. We know that it's a bunch of Russian disinformation bullshit. So I made a video today in which I said these things, and somebody chatted in down at the, in the comments, hey, buddy, are you willing to bet on that? And I'm like, motherfucker, I moved to Kyiv. I literally bet my life on the fact, hey, Van, on the fact that the Russians are full of shit. Exactly, Anthony. Bring it on. Bring it on, motherfuckers. Bring it on. Oreshnik, where is it? Bring it on. T-14 Armada, where is it? Bring it on. Fucking Su-57 stealth? You think so? Wow, you might be right, Mel. We'll see. Freedom doesn't last. I don't know that the chances are that good, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of risk involved. Xi Jinping is going to be at the parade, right? So the 9th of May is the May Day parade, or is the Victory Day parade in Moscow. And it's Putin's chance to show the world how strong is Russia. And show off for his bunch of autocratic goons and goblins from around the world, like Xi Jinping. Although a lot of them aren't going now, right? Even Viktor Orban is saying that he's going to be late for the parade. Now, my buddy Dragon was telling me that normally Lukashenko has a big parade in Minsk on Victory Day. And so it is odd that he's going to be in Moscow at all. And maybe he won't be in the end. But we'll see. Hopefully Trump will be there. Hey, Jason. Hey, Nightshade. Hey, KC. I'll tell you something. I'm not saying that J.D. Vance killed the Pope. But J.D. Vance killed the Pope. I mean, everywhere that guy goes, he's like a walking, talking disaster area. I do not one and done. I do not think that. He is like a walking, talking disaster area. He went to Vermont, and his whole family was driven into hiding by the protesters in Vermont, the nicest people in the world. He went to Greenland. They wouldn't talk to him. Like the government people wouldn't even meet with him. Ended up, there was some scandal up at the base, and the base commander got fired, and that has had a domino effect on the morale and the running of the base and everything. It's a nightmare. He went to India to visit Modi, right? And what happened? The Pakistanis executed a bunch of unarmed Indians up in the Kashmir Gap, and we're on the verge of war between Pakistan and India, two nuclear-armed nations. Ooh, I feel pretty. So, I mean, it seems obvious to me. But you know what we really need in negotiations with Moscow is J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance should go to Moscow. It might take weeks, months maybe, but he should go to Moscow and he should have long conversations with Vladimir Putin every single day. That's what I think. Everywhere he goes, disaster follows. Has anything actually changed with this new deal with America? You're talking about the minerals deal, Jason, I assume. Honest to God, integral. Patient zero. Bernard, I think that's more likely than the skies being saturated over Moscow. I think that's much more likely. And if you don't see it down there, Bernard is saying, while all eyes are on the parade, do you think something else will be hit? I mean, I can't say that these naval drone attacks that we've seen in the Black Sea this past week are a dress rehearsal for the Kerch Bridge, a test of capacity, a test of accuracy, a test of ambush capabilities. I'm not saying any of that. I don't know. But could it be? I don't think it's impossible. So I do think, Bernard, you're right. I think that while everybody's in Moscow at the parade, oil depots, refineries, the Kerch Bridge, polyethylene or polymer manufacturers, anybody making fiber optic cable, anybody making military equipment, all of those will be up for grabs, I think. I don't think it's going to be a quiet day. I don't know what's left in Sevastopol to hit, Mel. The General Staff of the Black Sea Fleet has removed itself to Novorossiysk along with virtually every ship there is. I think the only ships left in the port at Sevastopol are 2 tugboats, 2 landing craft that are both damaged. And there's one other damaged vessel there that's not seaworthy, and I forget what it is. It might be a corvette. I'm not sure, but there's like 5 ships in the whole port, and 4 of them are not seaworthy. Amphibious landing in Crimea. You are an optimist, Mel. You are an optimist. Yes, you are. Hey, hobo. I don't know that that's going to be possible. And if it were possible, would you take out the Crimean Bridge first, or would you leave it up as an escape route? I don't know the answer to that. That's a tough question, I think. So Nightshade is saying 300 air defense systems have been deployed to Moscow ahead of the parade. And I heard something similar. Now, I found this. I meant to make a video about this today, but I didn't have a chance. So let me pull this up here. This is from Real War, the Telegram channel. And I was not able to confirm this data with any third-party source or official source. But this is a generally reliable pro-Ukrainian channel. Now, this is what he says, very, very much like Nightshade just said, right? According to Real War Telegram channel, 280 units of air defense were deployed by the Russian Federation for the Victory Day parade on May 9th. For the sake of the event, additional air defense systems were transferred to Moscow from the regions, in particular from Kazan and Grozny. So, leaving the Chechens undefended. The first echelon is detection. The Don 2N radar station operates for this purpose. Mobile radars Nebo M, Gamma S1, Kasta are all operating around Moscow. The second echelon is to intercept strategic threats. The third is long-range air defense. The S-400 covers approaches with a margin of up to 400 kilometers. And the fourth is close combat. Pantsir S-1 and Tor M2 systems are located not only in the Moscow region, but also in Moscow itself, on the roofs of buildings, on mobile, on mobile platforms. So that appears to be something like that is what's happening around Moscow. Lots of concentrated air defense. Now, as far as Putin's palaces go, New Dawn, everybody here knows, right? All the regular followers of this channel, for any length of time, you know that the Winter Palace in Sochi, right on the Black Sea, Putin bulldozed himself rather than risk having the Ukrainians hit it. So that's insanity, right, Arn? That's insanity. The others, there are multiple residents. There's one up on that lake. Oh, I forget the name of the lake just now. Does anybody know the name of that lake just northwest of Moscow where Putin's got a palace? There's a dozen Pantsir S1s and one S400 in the vicinity of that place. And then he's got others. So I don't know that air defense was pulled from those. It's not, no, Lake Baikal is the big, I think it's one of the largest freshwater lakes in the world. And if I'm not mistaken, it has the only freshwater seal population. But anyway, air defense, rather than pull it from his palaces, he pulled it from fucking Grozny and Kazan. Population centers don't need protection. I need protection. Now, Lake Lagoda. Thank you, Theo. Theo, ding, ding, ding. Thank you for playing. You get 10 points. In this game, points don't count, by the way. Completely meaningless. And arbitrary. But if I'm not mistaken, you're right, Theo. It's Lake Ladoga. Lake Ladoga. I don't know anything about Putin's yachts. I don't know if he has yachts. I don't know where he keeps them if he does. I don't know shit about Putin's yachts. He's probably got some. They all have some. But I don't know anything about them. Sorry, I completely lost my track of thought there. So, what does seem to be happening very clearly, whether or not they're going to hit the parade, they absolutely want the Russians and everybody who's going to that parade nervous that they're going to hit it. Budanov said, bring earplugs. Zelensky said, we cannot guarantee your safety. Last night, we saw 4 drones intercepted outside of Moscow. A total of 28, if I'm not mistaken. 28, 17 in Bryansk, taken out according to the Russian sources. Another 5 in Kaluga, taken out according to the Russian sources. 5 and 17, that's 22 plus 4, so 26, 26. 26 drones the Russians claim they intercepted. 4 of them got to Moscow. That's not what anybody wants to hear 4 days before the fucking parade. You can be sure of that. Also last night, they sent drones to Murmansk. At least 5 long-range drones got all the way to Murmansk, right to the Olyana Air Base before they were taken out. Assuming that they even were taken out. The Russians say they took them all out, right? We don't know. So, clearly, whether or not they're going to hit the parade, the Ukraine, and no matter how much we want them to hit the parade, The Ukrainians, at the very least, want the Russians and all their guests nervous that the parade is going to be hit. Now, I saw a very compelling argument because I vacillate on this, right? Bobby's all for it, of course, but I vacillate on whether or not the parade is a good idea because it's got risks. You have such potential for civilian collateral damage. Or worse, if there is no civilian collateral damage, for the Russians to create some and blame the Ukrainians. There's already talk of the Russians planning false flag operations in other parts of the country around the May 9th celebrations. So there's that, and the potential political blowback from the international community and partners should there be collateral damage. What happens if Xi accidentally gets drone dropped? That's going to be a problem. The Chinese are not going to be happy about that. And they got Chinese military in Moscow now for the parade. Very risky. Very, very risky. But I think what Bernard suggested earlier, hitting other targets while the parade is on, that seems like it's absolutely going to happen, at the very least. And I think that these long-range raids, hitting the drone facility in Tatarstan, hitting the 51st Arsenal of the GRAU, which is on the other side of Moscow, flying those drones to Murmansk last night, etc., right? These long-range provocations. Not provocations, pardon me, that's the wrong word. These long-range deep strikes into Russian territory so that Russia knows the parade is not safe. If the parade is not hit or not targeted by the Ukrainians, it is only by the grace and mercy of the Ukrainians that it's not targeted. That's reality. And this all comes amid a new Ukrainian offensive into Kursk. The Ukrainians have blown the bridges, again, just over the border in Kursk. The one bridge that had just been rebuilt after the last time they blew it up. I think that's so funny how the Ukrainians will blow something up, wait for the Russians to rebuild it, then blow it up again. And we don't know, we don't have confirmation from Kyiv yet that this Kursk incursion is happening. I want to say that right away. But according to the Russian mill blogger community, these guys are going out of their minds. There's video of Ukrainian, like bulldozers. They're not bulldozers. They're mine clearers is what they are. Just brushing aside the dragon's teeth. Just filling in tank traps to create a road over which vehicles can drive and enter Russia. Running over concertina wire, making a path for the foot soldiers. Now, I don't know how many Ukrainians, if any, are now entering Kursk, south of Goblesk. But listening to the Russian mill bloggers, it's a force of some substantial number. Yeah, the Ukrainians fly MiG-29s. I'm not sure about Su-27s. They definitely fly MiG-29s. Hello, Franklin. So we're waiting for official confirmation on what's happening in Kursk. But clearly, the Ukrainians are still holding 40 square kilometers of Kursk and about as much of Belgorod now. So this notion that Russia is unassailable, that Russia can't be invaded. The Ukrainians have been going to bed and waking up every night in control of Russian territory for 9 months as of tomorrow. Tomorrow, May 6th, is 9 months since the Ukrainians invaded Russia. And they've been going to bed and waking up every night in control of Russian territory sits. That says something. I mean, think about it. If you knock some chick up 9 months ago on August 6th, you would have your baby today. That's how long they've been there. That's how long they've been there. Now, Mel had asked before about whether or not, I think it was Mel, somebody asked. Somebody asked, is the minerals deal any kind of a real change? And here's the thing about the minerals deal. It's as good as the paper it's written on. It's as good as the minerals deal that the United States has with Afghanistan. From a practical standpoint of exploiting, I shouldn't use that word because it's a pretty good deal. The opportunity to mine rare earths in Ukraine, the opportunity to develop new gas and oil reserves, that's all very real. But nobody's going to do it. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in this war. No fucking way. So, what does it mean? Well, what it does mean, I'll tell you. What's the most important words in the minerals deal were the words, because of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The language is in that document that squarely puts the blame on Russia where it belongs. That's good. The other thing about the minerals deal is it says to the Russians, hey, we believe in a future that includes a sovereign, independent, and prosperous Ukraine. That's all good. America's in it for the long term, no matter what Trump does or says, right? And that's important. Then there's the changes in tone and execution of policy from the Trump administration since the deal was signed. Now, it's a pittance, and it's not aid, it's a weapons sale to Ukraine, $360 million approved so far in 2 packages. One package is $50 million in like low-end stuff. I think it's mostly flak jackets, helmets, that kind of thing. Then the $310 million deal is a long-term support package for the F-16s. And Mike Kelly, you're right not to trust Trump. Nobody should trust Trump. Everybody has seen Trump throw everybody loyal to him under the bus over and over and over again, and nothing is ever his fault, just like with dear leader in the Kremlin. So the minerals deal, while in practice, it doesn't get America any minerals. It doesn't make us any money. It establishes a fund for the reconstruction of Ukraine. It says that America is on the side of a free and independent, sovereign, prosperous Ukraine for the long haul. And it seems to have unblocked the weapons sales to Ukraine. Now, this is particularly important because Ukraine is asking to buy 10 Patriot systems. That's $15 billion. Then they've also said, hey, we've got another $35 billion from our European partners that we'd like to buy a bunch of other stuff. Maybe some Sidewinders and Tomahawks and things like that. Yeah, we would like that. So we could see the floodgates open on this thing of selling weapons to Ukraine. Trump's not going to hand out weapons. He's not going to give any aid packages, I don't think. But he's supposed to be a businessman. When somebody says to you, "Hey, I got 35 to 50 billion dollars to spend," you take the fucking money. You don't say, Zelensky, he's always looking to buy missiles. What? You just spent 6 months vilifying the guy as a freeloader and a beggar. And now he shows up with the money. You're not going to take it? You're not going to sell him the weapons? What the fuck is wrong with you? And obviously the short answer is Trump works for Putin, right? That's what's going on there. They seized a lot of cash in Jersey, UK. Remember, the Jersey in America is the New Jersey. The real Jersey is in the UK. So they seized a bunch of Russian money, huh? Interesting. I don't know what a chabad is. What's a chabad? I mean, you're gone anyway, but what's a chabad? I wonder. Okay, now on the subject of patriots, I'm very hopeful that Trump is going to take the money when it comes to the patriots and the other weapons packages that Ukraine wants. I'm hopeful. However, it is worth pointing out that the Israelis want to donate a Patriot system to Ukraine. That Patriot system is said to be en route to the United States now for refurbishment and maintenance. And we are hopeful that America is going to approve the regifting of this Patriot system. Look, you can't just, when you buy a Patriot system from the United States, you can't just sell it or give it away to anybody. You have to get export authority from the United States, right? We exercise export controls over weapons that we export to other people. Will the Trump administration approve the donation of the Israeli Patriot to Ukraine? That is the question that's on the table right now. Now, the Greeks are also looking at, they've got half a dozen Patriots at least. I forget exactly how many, but I'm pretty sure it's half a dozen. They're talking about sending a Patriot battery to Ukraine. Now, they talked about that about 2.5 years ago, but decided not to because they were worried about their own defense, particularly with the Turks. But the Turks have been very much in the Turks have been walking a fine line between not pissing Russia off and supporting Ukraine. But remember, it was the Turks who went to the Ukrainians and said, help us out with our Syrian problem. And it was the Ukrainians who went to Syria and trained those guys who eventually took out Bashar al-Assad. So Ukraine and Turkey have a good relationship. Greece is worried about Turkey, so they don't want to give up a patriot. If somehow the relationship between Ukraine and Turkey could ease Greece's fears, or some back channel of communication that could ease Greece's fears, maybe that would get a patriot from Greece to Ukraine. We'll see. We'll see. Hey, Betty Thompson, how you doing tonight? How you feeling, doll? Hey, by the way, Chris Carter and Blue Ariel Silk are the sponsors of tonight's live. If you see them around, please thank them for me and for all of us, because I could not do this without you guys. A little pasta for your tea. It's a little late for tea there, isn't it, Mel? Now, what was I going to say? Oh, on the subject of the nukes, right? The reason that the nukes are so in the news today is that Mike, remind me to come back to that. Good, Betty, I'm glad. The reason that the nukes are in all the news is because Putin is a nuclear saber rattling again, right? Zarubin, who's a TV personality in Russia, he did a 1 hour special on Putin's 25 years of dictatorship. I mean, of being in power. I mean, of being president of Russia. And in this interview, he asked Putin about nukes in Ukraine. Putin's response was, they want, now listen to this, listen to how he flips from playing the victim to playing the bully. They wanted to provoke us, as you said it yourself. They wanted us to make mistakes. Now, God, it is so frustrating since I ran out of account blocks. I guess there's an upper limit of how many accounts you can block on TikTok, and I finally hit it. So in the past, trolls like this idiot Baba or whoever he is, I would have just blocked them, every single one of their accounts. I would have just blocked it, so that we don't have to deal with this. Well, I've hit it now, Lars, finally. But I'm out of blocks now, so all I can do is mute them. And then they come back under their next account. Ugh. Anyway, they wanted to provoke us. They wanted to make mistakes. That's the Putin, the victim, right? Oh, I have no control over the world. Why do you make me hit you? Right? It's that kind of psycho bullshit. He then went on to add, there was no need to use the weapons you spoke about, and I hope they will not be required. And I hope they will not be required. Nuclear weapons against Ukraine. You got a population of 140 million people. You got a landmass 20 times the size of your opponent. You got a standing army that's 1.5 million men more than the army of your opponent. You are blessed with the Soviet stockpiles of weapons. You have an air force. You have a navy. You have 4 nuclear submarines in the Black Sea. You are blessed with every advantage. And 3 years later, you've lost 54% of the land you took in your initial blitzkrieg. You've put 1 million men in the ground or into hospital beds for the rest of their lives. I forget who did, Adam Kinzinger. No, was it Adam Kinzinger? I think it was Adam Kinzinger. Did a phenomenal job. He put up a map of Iraq and he said, if after 3 years in Iraq, we only had this 18% of it, would you say that we were a success? After 3 years in Iraq, we only had this little strip of land and it cost us 1 million men. Would you say it's a success? No. You would be screaming for the heads of those generals on pikes. That's what you would do. So Putin is rattling the nuclear saber because he's afraid. He does not want to be embarrassed in front of Xi. The reality is that Ukraine holds all the cards. Donald Trump was wrong. Ukraine can wreck this. They can rain on this fucking parade. Now, the good news here for Putin is that he's got until the 7th. If the guns go quiet, if he agrees to Zelensky's 30-day unconditional ceasefire, and the guns go silent at midnight on the 7th, and stay that way, Zelensky has said there will be no problems at the parade. So that's all the guy has to do. Just tell everybody, shut the fuck up and stop firing at midnight on the 7th. That's all he has to do. And he won't have a problem at his parade. But he's the one who has to dictate the terms. His own pride, his hubris, his ego is in the way of anything that he deserves. Everything he gets. Absolutely deserves it all. Dave, unblock your oldest. Those accounts are likely closed by now. Yeah, the problem is, Dave, you ever try to scroll through 7,500 accounts to get to the oldest? There's no sort. There's no search. You can't look for inactives. It's an awful interface, pal. No, the standing army is bigger now because Putin's increased conscription. So they actually have more men in uniform. I think 330,000 more men in uniform today than at the start of the war. You know, Greg, Greg says, okay, so Putin stops firing on the 7th and starts again after the parade. And in all likelihood, that's exactly what's going to happen, no matter what. So if he stops on the 7th, then at least the Ukrainians would have 4 days without having to sleep in the tub with their kids. The guys on the front being able to get somewhere and take a bath. Being able to get some sleep without the constant boom, boom, boom of artillery fire. 4 days, you can really get a lot done in 4 days if you don't have people shooting at you. So the worst case scenario, let's say that Putin breaks the ceasefire immediately after the 11th, which he's likely to do, right? But even just those 4 days would be good for Ukraine. No warships of any kind can come through the Straits of the Dardanelles. Bobby, I don't know. Putin can't afford a 30-day ceasefire. His army could revolt if he tries a restart, you think. It could be, Bobby. It could be. If he stopped fighting for 30 days, it could be that nobody would want to go back to it. It's not impossible. I keep saying we need a 1917 moment here, right? Remember, in 1917, World War I, 2 million Russian soldiers just walked off the battlefield, walked home, told the Tsar to go fuck himself. And that is what we need here, but I don't know that we're going to get it. I just don't know that we're going to get it. Next week, the Kremlin is raising its budget deficit. It's going to have to. The price of oil is tanking. Iris-T air defense from Germany could be sent in those 4 days. They could be if the Germans wanted to provide some. Germans have done a good job on that. They've provided if I'm not mistaken, it's 3/4 of the Iris-T systems that they've promised to date. There's still some more coming. And if I'm not mistaken, it's 5, 3 short range, 3 intermediate range left, something like that. We need a Russian general who cares about his troops. Unfortunately, Mel, they have all been detained, dispatched, or disappeared. Putin has seen to that. With a couple of exceptions, Popov is facing trial right now. And he's sharp, that guy. The Ukrainians are glad he's off the battlefield. He knew what he was doing. Hey, Craig. Hey, Dan Ballard. How you doing? Penjorp, I can't say that the Russian military will soon collapse, but I do believe that the collapse of the Russian military is inevitable. It is inevitable. It cannot be stopped. Nobody can stop it. And it will end with the dissolution of the Russian Federation. That's where this all ends. There's no turning back now. There's just no turning back. Hey, Brian, how you doing, pal? The generals only care about how much money they can extort from their men. how much they can steal from the government. That's all. Every Russian mill blogger that complains about the generals, that's what they complain about. It's way too many of them. They got way more generals than America does. No, I don't know the answer to that, Craig. Could be. Deals on hotel rooms in Moscow this week. Could be. Does anybody know how many, or can somebody look up real quick, how many generals Russia has compared to America? I want to say it's like 2 or 3 to 1. Like everybody in the Russian military is a general. There's no master sergeants. You know, it's ridiculous. You can't put these people in their place. Facts don't matter to them. They are impervious to facts, these people. Come on. Did you get your rent done? If you mean, did I get my rent paid? I did. I haven't found a new apartment. I really need a new apartment. If anybody knows anybody in Kyiv that's got a place toward the center, that would be great. Bobby hits it on the head. He says, Putin is afraid of his generals. He prioritizes loyalty over competence. Yeah, good. I'm glad you had fun. That's what matters, is if you're going to do it, have fun with it. Don't take it seriously. You'll give yourself a heart attack. You don't think they'd go nuclear before letting the Federation collapse? No. Did the USSR go nuclear when it collapsed? No. No, I don't. Listen, these people want to live. They understand mutually assured destruction. So no, I do not believe that they will go nuclear before the collapse. Do I think Latvia is next? I don't think anybody is next. I think that the Ukrainians, the Russians are going to break themselves on Ukraine. And then nobody will be next. If anybody is next, it's Canada. And I'm afraid to say it's the United States that's coming for them. Hey, Magnus, how's things down your way? How's everything with the toilet swirling counterclockwise? So disorienting. Let's hear about them drones that took out 2 fighter jets. Okay. So there's a little bit of fog of war on this, Mike. We know that 2 Sukhoi 30s were destroyed. That's $100 million worth of plane. We know that one of them was taken out by a Magura V7 drone. It's not clear whether it was using Sea Dragon missiles or Sidewinders. Could have been either. Might have been Sidewinders. We don't know. But it looks like it was a Magura V7. The drone was one of a fleet of drones, 20 drones. Now, these things cost, I believe, about $250,000 a piece. But don't quote me on that. I'd need to look it up. If I'm not mistaken, it's about $250,000 a piece. There were 20 of them. That's $5 million, right? Did I do that right? If there were 20 of them, that's $5 million. They took out $100 million worth of planes. Even if they were all destroyed, which we don't know if they were. If they were all destroyed, that's a $5 million investment to deny your enemy $100 million investment. And that's just the planes they took out. They took out a tugboat. They took out some land targets. We're not sure about the land targets. We think it was mostly radars. So S-400 radar, S-300 radar, S-300 battery, a bunch of P-18 radars, which is an older Soviet radar, which I had never heard of and had never seen any reports of these things being destroyed on the battlefield. But today we got video from the Air Force of like 6 of them being destroyed. Now, Where did these old radars, these Soviet radars from the 60s and 70s, where did they suddenly come from? Probably out of mothballs. Why would they suddenly come out of mothballs? Because the Ukrainians have destroyed everything else. I mean, that's why, right? So the thing about these planes that got shot down, what's important about this is that not only do the unmanned sea drones serve as a weapons platform for air defense missiles that can shoot down planes and helicopters, it serves as a multi-role combat platform that can deliver first-person view drones and act as a repeater station to boost the signal back to the operators who are hundreds of miles away, safe in a basement in Dnipro. Use those drones to take off from the sea drone and find a P-18 radar, and boom, blast it. And that appears to be what's been going on. Russia has, so it's 5-1, over 5-1, Tony. Russia has 510 generals versus the U.S. with 800. Thank you, T-Bone. T-Bone, are you a Seinfeld fan, or is that really your nickname? The military coup came close. Yes, it did. Boy, I remember that march on Moscow. I just sat there with my popcorn waiting for Swan Lake to come on. It was a great day. Is Ukraine pushing into Belgorod? They have pushed into Belgorod. It doesn't look like they're pushing further. It looks like they're just trying to hold the line, leveraging some natural river barriers and other natural barriers to slow down the Russian advance. At the same time, Ukrainians are invading Kursk again. And the concern, I think, for the Ukrainians is that the Russians have 62,000 troops in Kursk. And it looks like they're getting ready to invade Sumy. Well, the last thing that Ukraine wants is another internal refugee crisis, another Ukrainian city destroyed, another front to have to operate in. So it appears that what the Ukrainians have done is they're challenging those 62,000 troops in Kursk, and keeping them out of Ukraine. And that's got to be a challenge. But it is certainly a good move, in my opinion. Was the Kerch Bridge attacked again, or was that false news? Truth hurts. There was multi-platform drone activity in the vicinity of the Kerch Bridge. Authorities had to close the Kerch Bridge down, I don't know, maybe for 4 or 5 hours. It was not long. So as far as I know, the bridge itself was not attacked. But it was shut down because of attacks in the vicinity of the bridge. Now, again, we think about objects, military objects of the Russian Federation that the Ukrainians would want to target on parade day. Kerch Bridge is top of the list, baby. And you have all these sea drone activity attacks in the vicinity of the bridge. It sounds to me like dress rehearsals. I mean, it sounds like dress rehearsals. How much they lose in Black Sea Fleet? 50% of the tonnage, 1/3 of the vessels. But because they focused on the larger vessels, Anthony, it was 1/2, because you measure navies by tonnage, really, right? It was 1/2 the tonnage of all the ships of the Black Sea Fleet. I'm hearing that they have taken out 40,000 troops in a month. That's about right. I mean, that's about been the average for 4 or 5 months now. 40 to 46,000 a month. Evening Ekmat. 108 Russian and 653 American, according to Google. So that's 6 to 1. So it's a 5 or 6 to 1 ratio. Thanks, Nana Pam. Text-mexual. Ooh, a text-mexual. I want it covered in salsa. Give me a little of that. Give me a little of that salsa fresca. Putin said he wants 4 regions of Ukraine or he will not stop. Of course he won't stop. Of course he wants a buffer zone. Right? Why? Because Putin will never be satisfied. He will never have enough. He wants all of Ukraine. Yes, he does, Dave. So who's not coming to the parade in Moscow, which is still on? Yep. You got Narendra Modi, his defense secretary, Fico, Orban, the other guy in Serbia, Vucic. Sorry, Serbians. Vucic. He's not coming. Kim Jong-un doesn't leave the Hermit Kingdom, so he's not coming. Nobody's coming to Putin's party. They heard he's been torturing small animals. Thanks, Mel. I will eat it. How can Russia keep it up? Russia's got deep pockets, and it does not give a fuck. Russia has deep pockets, and it does not give a fuck. It does not care about how many people die. It does not care about who does. It does not give a fuck. Just sells more oil. Yeah, the problem is that oil is in the toilet, right? It's the last price I saw for Urals crude today was $55.50 a barrel. Moscow's not making any money on that. Now, Jay, he has, the little guy, little rocket man has left North Korea for Putin. They met at the Cosmodrome out by Vladivostok about a year ago, maybe? Yeah, about a year ago. Ahead of the signing of the Treaty of Friendship between them in June last year. So the menu was wonderful. I remember some of the things that were on the menu. And it was very interesting to me that more details were available about what they ate at that meeting than about what they had to say to each other. Norway don't like oil in the toilet. No, that is a problem for the Sovereign Wealth Fund, isn't it? The Sovereign Wealth Fund is in good hands. Although I did see your guy, what's the name of the guy that runs the Sovereign Wealth Fund for Norway? He was saying that the portion of the assets that are currently held in American stocks are expected to lose 1/3 of their value. Yeah. The ruble is the best performing currency in the world right now on paper. The last conversion I saw was 88 rubles to the dollar. It's made up all of its losses of the last 8 months. It's amazing. The Great Patriotic War. Okay, what else I got for you today? We were talking about Putin and saber rattling. Medvedev said that if Ukraine fucks with the parade, I'm paraphrasing, they will not see May 10th. Again, threatening, nukes. Xi is still headed to the parade. Fico and Vucic are out. Regarding the parade, Zelensky said, or regarding the ceasefire for the parade, so there is no faith in them, meaning the Russians. We understand who we are dealing with. We do not believe them. Period. This is not the first challenge, nor are these the first promises made by Russia to cease fire, Zelensky said in a news conference with Czech President Peter Pavel. Entirely, Arn, entirely thanks to the Orange Man, yep. Zelensky was in Czechoslovakia today. Worth mentioning, I think, that the Czech Shell Initiative has been marvelous for Ukraine, delivering over 500,000 shells to Ukraine, and now the Europeans are saying they're going to deliver another 2 million. Meanwhile, Ukraine itself has ramped up its own production to 2.5 million shells this year, while setting a very aggressive target of building 4.5 million drones for themselves. Finally, my last news top line item here, the Strela Electronics plant, or electrical transformers reactors plant, that makes a lot of shit for the military, has been destroyed in Bryansk. So we knew it got hit. It had been hit twice before, but it's a big facility. Today they are saying, the governor is saying, the plant has been destroyed. It is offline for the foreseeable future. That is incredible. Really great work by the Ukrainians. Okay. Guys, again, it's almost top of the hour, so I want to thank Chris Carter and Blue Ariel Silk, who are the sponsors of tonight's live. I want to thank Nightshade, who has the Peters Peeps group, and Lars, who has the Discord server. I also want to give a special shout out to Arne for all of your support. Thank you, Arne. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm exhausted. I'll tell you, the air raid sirens went off right after I went to bed last night, 2 a.m. I was up from 2 until 4:30. I was out of bed at 8:30, and I haven't stopped since. Now, I didn't even show, I don't even know if you can see this. Can you see this? Can you guys see this on the camera? Right? Do you know what this is? You know what this is. Yeah, I'm going to bed. I am. It is not hair. It is fiber optic cable. This, my friends, Dragon dropped by earlier tonight. And he dropped off this fiber optic cable. This stuff, of course, this was invented in Corning, New York at the Corning Glass Works, where it has been my distinct pleasure to be many times. It's a great place. If you're ever in upstate New York, make time for a trip to the Corning Glass Works. And of course, it's the solution to drone jamming. Today, the 3D Tech Corporation here in Ukraine is building 30-kilometer long spools of fiber cable specifically designed to allow first-person view drone operators stay in touch with their drones, even in the face of electronic jamming. With that cable hardwired, the drones stay flying, no matter what they run into. Incredible. Dragon brought that for me. 3-hour live walkabout, nice. Good night, Bernard. What do you do when the sirens go off? I go about my business. Mike, I'm sorry, what did you see on the news? I don't know what. Birds don't have hair. die. Birds don't have hair. I am losing hair. Yes, you are right about that. All right, good night, everybody. Let's see here. I hate these dumb puzzles. You know, when you've been live for an hour, they put up a puzzle and you have to solve it. Ugh. You're right in the middle of doing things. Night, Sarah. Night, Roy. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, big thanks to Chris Carter and Blue Ariel Silk. I will see everybody on tomorrow night's live. If you want to sponsor a live, the PayPal is in the description. If you are a Patreon member, or if you're not a Patreon member, get yourself a Patreon account. And if you are a free member on the Patreon, maybe think about whether or not you can kick me $5 a month. I appreciate it. All right, kids. Make it a great day. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks, Annette. I might take Friday off, Mel. We'll see.